All right, welcome to the test review. I'm going to go through the test review. You know, one of these days I should probably learn that I need to stop doing this right during, like, say, passing periods. One of these days, I'll learn that. Anyways, welcome to the test review. This is for your own benefit, so, you know, kind of listen, kind of go through, fast forward, you know, as you need to, and kind of go from there. But thank you so much for giving me your attention for this, and I do really appreciate it. So let's look at this. Okay, so on the test, I can set up something where I will ask for inequality, interval notation, and then the graph. So let's look at that. My n numbers here are -1 and 6, so interval notation would mean I put -1, +6. And then, again, what do I need to put there? Well, I need to put brackets, because there's a line underneath, parentheses for that. So keep in mind that as you're looking at these with interval notation, or something like this, anyways, if you have like something like this, you need to keep in mind, like, a line underneath will have a bracket and an open dot associated. No line underneath will have a parentheses and a closed dot associated with it. Okay, and again, you know, you're opening here, you're closing here on the right. I mean, that should be pretty obvious. So that's something you could add to your note card. So here at -1, I've got an open dot, but at +6, I've got a closed dot. And again, I want to shade in between because, again, this is in between. So if you look at the next one, they give you the interval notation, and you're saying at -5, -2, you've got a bracket on the -5, so that means I need a line underneath here, and that means at -5 I've got a closed dot, and at -2 I've got an open dot, and I want to shade in between. And again, keep in mind on this note cards that I will allow you to use on the test, you can kind of come up with your own method for working these. I just want you to kind of come up with your own method. Now, especially based after what I heard from some of the other teachers, I'm going to go to number 4, and then I'm going to go back to number 3. But how do I want you to write this? I want you to focus on the fact that this is going forever to the left, which means it's going to -infinity. So I always want you to think in terms of left and right, at least with these singular ones. And when we get to range, then I would think low and high. But so this is left, this is right. Another reason why I think of that is because in the domain, we're talking about the x's, so that kind of keeps that same format, left and right on the domain. So this is going forever to -infinity, and it's to the right, it's at 1. It's got a closed dot, so there's that. And then for the interval notation, -infinity, comma 1, and done from there. And so that's pretty much it. Now, the reason why I went to skip number 3 is because number 3 is kind of like an or. There's like two parts to this. There's this section, and then there's that right section. Now, the left section is going to -infinity, x. Notice again, infinity symbols always have parentheses. They will never have brackets. And then it goes to -2, and it's got an open dot. The interval notation for that would have been parentheses, -infinity, comma, -2, parentheses. And then on the second section, we've got a bracket, or I'm sorry, we're starting at 4, got a line underneath there, still an x, and then it's going to +infinity. That's my infinity symbol, just go with it. Bracket at 4, +infinity. And bada bing, bada boom, we're done. So that's interval, that's like what we first covered at the beginning of the year, so we can kind of go from there. All right, so let's look at the next part. All right, so this one, I hate number 5. I don't like number 5. That won't appear on the test. I'm going to try to type up something that'll be functional and that'll work. Okay, so now let's decide if this is a function. Simplest definition you can put, and maybe there's something you put in your note cards. Function x does not repeat. So I look here. Does x ever repeat? No, it does not. So then, yes, this is a function. Okay. When you see two lines coming off a mapping, like you do here on number 8, and you can see how the 15 has two lines coming off it, that means x is repeating. So this one is not going to be a function. You can still find a domain and range, but I mean, it's not a function. And then here, as I look at this, 3, 7, 1, 2, 9, 2. 2 and 2, x is repeating, so this one is not going to be a function also. Okay, so what's my domain here? This is where I put my funky little parentheses, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those are my set parentheses. And then it should be in order from least to greatest, but I'm more concerned with make sure you get the right numbers in there. But I'll put it in order from least to greatest to make sure I'm doing it correct, most correct, however you want to say it. So there you go. All right, now, I don't want you to repeat the values. Okay, so let's look at this for a second. Here, I've got 3, 7, 1, 2, 9, and then 2 happens again, so I'm not going to do it again. I'm putting these in just how I see them, so that way I make sure I covered 3, 7, 1, 2, 9, and 2. I'm not going to write it again. Then I got 2, 1, 7, 3. I already have a 2, and then 9. So again, I've covered all those. 3 goes to 2, 7 goes to 1, 1 goes to 7, 2 goes to 3, 9 goes to 2, and then 2 goes to 9. Okay, and this is not a function because I can see, again, right there, the x is repeating, so like that. But I can still find a domain, and I'll put it in order 1, 2, 3, 7, and 9. Notice I put these numbers in order, and range 1, 2, 3, 7, and 9. Now, if you put something different, if you put them in a different order, would I count it wrong? No. Again, I'm more concerned with you make sure you have all your elements. Okay, so let's look at here, the domain and the range here. Domain is -8, -1, 0, 15. That was horrible, but okay. And the range is 7 and 9. All right, so that's basically about it. That's basically it for that type of domain and range. Notice here again, how can you tell if it's a function? Now, I will add this to this because I'm going to go over it with number 12. Keep in mind, like I can give you something like this and say, like on number 6, what does f of 3 mean? Well, obviously f of 3 gives you a 6, but what it means is if you get third place, you can write it out as a sentence, but third place earns 6 points. Something like that, or if you get third place, you get 6 points. I'm going to expect you to be able to explain something like that to me on the test, so please make sure you can understand that, all right? Great. So now let's move on to the next part. I hate it when I pause the recording and forget to say press play or press record as I'm talking. I've been talking for the last like 2 or 3 minutes, and oops. This is going to go longer than 10 minutes, folks. Just keep that in mind, but I'm trying to make sure I go over every single problem. So, number 9, what am I going to do? I'm going to plug in the numbers for the x. They're very simple examples, but they're plugging into the x, and they're coming up with the answers. Now, take notice that I am putting the numbers that I'm substituting in for in parentheses. I like to do that just to make sure I understand where I'm getting, like that they're going into the x. Now, I can type this stuff right here into the calculator and get an answer, and those are the answers I'm going to get. I can't think of anything else beyond that. That should pretty much cover that, and that should hopefully be fairly easy. But now, what about the graph? Well, don't forget, the graph, you're like going, okay, here's 0. Where am I at on the graph? Because remember, that number in the parentheses represents the x, and the other number represents the y on the curve. So you're saying, okay, at 0, I'm going to end up on the graph at -4. At -1, I end up on the graph at around -3. And that's about it. So those should hopefully be fairly easy. Even if I make the equations more complicated, it shouldn't be more difficult than that. Here are the answers that you get when you plug in. Remember, number 11, the domain is the x. So what do they mean? What is specified range? They mean plug those numbers into the x of the function and then find the y. So if you want to say like f of -1, f of 0, if you want to give it to me answers like, if they ask it like that, you can give me the answers just like that. Or as they are here, where they're in the set parentheses, because that's what they gave you the question kind of. Or you can list them out like f of negative 1, f of 0, f of 2, and they equal negative 1, 5, negative 1, and 7. The next one, number 12, I would probably give you the equation. So I would probably tell you f of x is equal to 50 plus 25x. Now, I do, and where x would have to stand for the hour of labor, so keep that in mind. So what's the value of the function for an input of 5 represent? So that's the main question I'd probably ask on the test. Like, what does it mean when you get a 5, or when you have a 5? Okay, 5 means that I'm putting the 5 in, okay, and I get 175 for an answer. That means for 5 hours of work, the plumber is charging $175. So that I'm wanting you to say, write that out, because it's really important that we understand that we're not just spitting out numbers and just doing random crap work. It's that we're trying to make sure that you understand and can interpret. Right? That's so much more important here. So now let's go into the last little section of this, and then we'll be done. Okay, so here they want you to do the inequalities and the ranges. So keep in mind, x is going to be domain, range is going to be y, x is going to be, I really should give myself a little bit more space on the top, but oh well. Range is going to be y, x is going to be domain, range is going to be the y, x is going to be the domain. You kind of get a point here, and range is going to be the y. Okay, and we'll talk about the function, not a function, in a minute. Okay, because no matter what, you can still always find domain range, even if it's not a function. Okay, so again, domain, furthest to the left, that's negative 4. And it's a closed dot, so it's equal to. Furthest to the right, positive 4. And again, equal to. So we're saying bracket, negative 4, comma 4, bracket. Range, lowest. It does not have to depend on the endpoint, so keep that in mind. So here, range is the lowest, and that's at negative 2, again, line. And the highest is at positive 2, and again, line, bracket, negative 2, positive 2. The domain will depend on endpoints, but the range doesn't. Range is low and high. And this is a function? Yes, it is, because it passes the vertical line test. No line will say ever cross that twice at the same time. Whereas you can see here, number 15, it's not going to be a function. All right, so let's look at this next one. It's really hard to tell. If you can't tell, folks, go with that it's a closed dot. I'm going to say that's a closed dot. Maybe they meant to be an open dot, but we're going to say that's a closed dot. Furthest to the left of that one, that is so hard to read. 1, 2, 3. Negative 3. Ah, dang that, I put it too close to my thing. Negative 3, and then it's got an arrow, so it's going to positive infinity. Okay, and then from there, we've got, I'm saying closed dot, so negative 3, bracket, comma, infinity, parentheses. And that'll always be. The lowest it goes, negative 2. We're saying again, closed dot. And the highest is to positive infinity. So negative 2, comma, positive infinity. Is this a function? Yes, it is, because again, it passes the vertical line test. Okay, here. The lowest it goes, or the furthest to the left, is 1, 2, 3. So we're saying negative 3, closed. And it's going forever to the right, so that's positive infinity. Bada bing, bada boom, there we go. Then it goes forever down, negative infinity to positive infinity. Double parentheses, negative infinity, oops, comma, positive infinity, boom. Not a function because it fails the vertical line test at, say, those 2 points. That means x is repeating. Here, this one goes to negative infinity because it's going forever to the left, and it's going forever to the right, positive infinity, negative infinity, positive infinity, and then it's going forever down, and it's going forever to the right, or up, sorry, obviously in weird direction, but always keep in mind that this is a, I don't know, I was about to say no, this is a function. Always keep in mind, smaller numbers should always, like negative infinity is always on the left, positive infinity is always on the right. I don't care how you, I mean, even when you see like that it's going up this way, that's still going to be on the right, that's still going to be on the left. Okay, so I mean, again, a couple of things that you might want to keep in mind, and this is something you can add to the end thing. Just because, let's do that. just because you have something like this, yes, your domain will be focused on the end numbers here and here, but your range is focused on low and high. So low and high. And this is left and right. Something you can add to your note card. This does not have to be at the ends. Keep that in mind, because a lot of y'all, that's kind of the mistake you were making. Just focus on stuff like that. And then if I wanted to, I could put a little nose and say that. No, I'm just kidding. All right, anyways, so that's it for today. Hopefully you'll use this to help you study and that you're going to be doing better for it. And I'll tell you what, let's add this. For 5 points on the test, you have to show that, I'm hoping that I'm trusting y'all not to share this. This is only for those who watched and listened. Write the words thank you at the bottom of the test for 5 extra points. Again, write the words thank you, and that's it. So again, thank you for listening to me and watching this video, and hopefully it'll help you do better on the test, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Thank you very much.